Here's a question. Have leaders made the right moves in Ferguson? President Obama sent Attorney General Eric Holder here. He did not come himself. Missouri Governor Jay Nixon appointed Highway Patrol Captain Ron Johnson to take over security. Later called in the National Guard. Of course, they are subsequently, they've systematically, that's the word I'm looking for, withdrawing from this area. We've got HLN contributor Jason Johnson, Dr. Johnson, professor of political science at Hiram College, with us as well. I want to give you the due respect. Good to have you here with us. First, let's talk about the decision for Eric Holder to come and for the president not to come himself. What do you think?
I think that was fine. And I've been highly critical of what President Obama has said, but this is ultimately a law enforcement issue. And the top cop in the nation is Eric Holder. It was very good for him to send here. It sent a message throughout the community, kind of trickled down, that the president is actively engaged. I don't think he needed to be on the ground. There's really nothing he can do right now.
So let's talk about some meetings you've attended, because you went to 2 meetings yesterday.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, so one was at First Baptist Church, and that was a group of people who have started a group called I Love Ferguson. And now it was supposed to bring unity to the community, and it was a church of about 300 people, and there were only 3 black people there. Then I went to another meeting at the town hall in Normandy, which is a small surrounding city, and that was all sort of local black leaders and a Department of Justice liaison who was giving information. So the community isn't really working together when it comes to addressing some of the issues in town, but people are actively talking.
But let's talk about the perspective, how they view what is happening here. Very different, I'd imagine. Yes.
So at First Baptist Church, where it was mostly the white residents of town, they're infinitely more concerned about how the town is perceived than what actually happened. You heard people getting up there saying, I realized I was part of the problem in Ferguson because I only go to that part of town to buy wings. Or when the ex-mayor got on stage and said, I understand the black experience because I grew up poor and by a single mother. So that's the kind of thing you're hearing in the white community. There's a real disconnect from what they're saying there and what many of the black leaders are saying in the other meetings.
Any effort to bring these conversations together?
I think there's a lot of talk of bringing the conversations together, but whether or not that happens, this is the problem. You already have people saying we need to heal and move forward. You can't heal if you can't agree on the diagnosis about what made you sick. And the problem is right now you have many in the African-American community who are saying, look, the problem has to do with the police department, it has to do with the mayor, it has to do with voting, it has to do with turnout. And many in the white community think the problem has to do with how the media is showing the town, and they see the death of Mike Brown as an isolated and strange tragedy.
Okay, so let's talk about the process as it relates to the investigation, possible charges against Darren Wilson. Let's start with the prosecuting attorney here, Bob McCullough, and calls for him to recuse himself from this process. Do you think he should?
I think he should, and I don't think it's going to happen because the governor doesn't want to get involved. Look, the governor could ask him to recuse himself. The governor could try and have him replaced, but I don't think Jay Nixon wants any part of what's happened in Ferguson. He has not done a particularly good job. He hasn't been very engaged, and I think he feels like as long as I put this on McCullough, whether we win or lose, I don't get in trouble for it one way or another. But no one here seems to have faith that Bob McCullough he might be able to get an indictment, but a conviction, no one believes it.
Well, let's talk about the grand jury as well. I realized I misspoke earlier in calling it a federal grand jury. It is not, but St. Louis County here, the makeup, 9 whites, 3 African Americans. What are you hearing about the confidence in the system and the makeup of the grand jury?
Well, the reality is demographics are destiny. Okay, if you look at Renisha McBride versus what happened with George Zimmerman, the makeup of a jury, there's sociology that proves it's political science, law enforcement research, the makeup of the jury has to do with whether or not somebody's going to get convicted. Now, the threshold to get indicted is really low. So I think there's a good chance there could be an indictment against Officer Wilson, but the likelihood that he will be convicted with a majority white jury, since he's a white police officer, is next to nil.
Okay. All right. Dr. Johnson, good to have you here in Ferguson.
Thank you.
We'll talk more later throughout the morning. Christy.